Hey guys, welcome to another Freaks and Geeks Friday. Merlin's over there, aka Joe. Sometimes known as Joe, but on your own channel, Merlin the Mighty.
Usually.
You're usually known as Merlin.
Yeah. Review things.
And my name's Dan, of course, and this is Dan Reviews It with Freaks and Geeks Friday. We're now up to the home stretch here. There's only, I think, 5 maybe after this. This is the garage door episode of Freaks and Geeks.
You were anticipating my thoughts on this one.
Well, for one, I don't want to say a spoiler about my feelings yet.
No.
So maybe I'll just save it. But I personally think this will be one of our shorter ones. I know we say that every GD time.
It could be.
But I think...
yeah, maybe it could be, actually.
It
could be.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not going to say
all right.
why yet.
All right. Well, you know what? Maybe.
But all right, so a little bit of background on this. This is the second to last episode that aired.
Oh.
This is when they came back. So the biggest stretch of episodes they had was when they relaunched in January of 2000. They did 5 episodes, I think it was, in a row. Up to the first week of February, and then February sweeps. They were like, well, we can't have it on for February sweeps. We need big ratings.
They just screwed over
So they took it off for about a month and a half, brought it back in March for 2 episodes before just pulling the plug entirely and saying, we're done with this. They ran a few over the summer because of some, people mailing in requests and stuff.
Give us more Freaks and
Save our
Geeks.
show kind of thing. But so basically... From what Apatow said on the commentary is they were brought back and NBC said if you can get an 8 rating or an 8 share or whatever it is, then we'll keep you on and we'll see. Now, first of all, to get an 8 rating
sounds pretty high.
now is that's like a top 10 show almost, but this is not now.
With all the streaming.
And 8 was like 70th place or whatever. So not so hot when you have, Frasier, Friends, and other shows that were on NBC at the time doing 25, whatever.
Wow.
So they come back on. They get an 8 exactly.
Ooh. That's funny.
But NBC didn't go with their...
They didn't agree to the deal?
Nope.
They went back on it?
They said, well, you got just an 8. Like, you're right on that line.
But that's what you said, at least an 8.
So forget it. So they ran one more week. Or maybe he didn't explain it all the way. Maybe they said, we'll give you one more week if you get an 8. So that's why they got the follow-up week. I don't know.
Poor show.
But that was the end. So this was the second to last episode that aired in the original run of the series.
Wow.
And so you have been asking if Seth Rogen would have some sort of a plot.
I was mad about that.
Very mad. And here we find out that it is the case. We give him a plot. Did you recognize the girl that we're going to talk about in Seth Rogen's plot point?
I have this feeling like a lot of people, I probably have seen her somewhere. I liked her, but I can't place her.
Okay, so here's what I thought. I knew I recognized her. And, of course, I've seen this show, many times.
Sure.
But I was like, nah, it's something else. It's something that I have seen since Freaks and Geeks.
Okay. Probably, yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
So, first I thought, well, you don't watch Superstore, do you?
I've heard it's good.
Okay, it is good. She kind of actually reminds me of this character, Dina, on Freaks and Geeks. On Superstore.
Yes.
In the face. And age-wise, she would be right about on the money. Because this woman on Superstore is in her, late 30s, I would say. So, time-wise, from 20 years ago, she'd be a teenager. Okay, makes sense.
Sure.
But it's not her.
Okay.
It is the sister in the movie Election. One of my all-time favorite movies. Alexander Payne's Election, starring Reese Witherspoon.
Good movie.
Remember, you had the boy from American Pie. Was
the boy
who was the football player that was going against Tracy Flick in the election.
Yeah.
So then his sister, you've only seen it once. I've seen it many times. One of my favorites.
It's a great movie.
She's the sister to the guy from Chris. I forget his real name. Chris something from American Pie.
Forgot about her.
And they wrote this role for her after seeing Election. Apatow and Feig, big fans of that movie. Who isn't? And some people say it's Reese Witherspoon's best, and I don't argue with those
based
people.
upon what I've seen, that's a very well written movie.
Yeah, I would say my personal favorite is Legally Blonde.
That's a good one.
But and Legally Blonde is very well written.
It's a very good movie. Yeah.
And by the way, Linda Cardellini, who plays Lindsay, is in that film.
I gotta watch these movies again.
But anyway, Election, many people say is, the best of the Reese Witherspoons. I don't deny it. Great movie. But anyway,
Probably.
so they saw that movie, loved her performance, put her in this. She's done very, very little since.
Huh.
She got pretty much out of the biz. She did a couple of things after this.
Huh.
But, her filmography, I think she did like one thing in 2013 or something, like a short film, but I assume that was probably for just a friend or something.
Hanging out. She's not really an actress.
But she's just, I guess, gotten out of the business, which is unfortunate because I think she's really good.
I liked her in this.
Yeah.
I liked her character.
So that's who she was. And then you also, we were talking a few episodes ago, you picked up right away on the plot line with Sam's dad.
Yeah, and you saw that coming, yeah.
You saw it coming, so they sort of were laying the groundwork. I think that was 2 episodes ago.
That was...
So let's talk about the garage door.
Well, the plots are pretty simple, and the interesting thing about them is that they are very okay. Thematically, they are certainly connected, but the tone is a sharp contrast, which I find interesting. It's like 2 sides.
Okay, of the Freak story and the Geek story.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, because
so as they do a lot.
So should I talk about the Freaks?
Hold on. Before you even talk about it,
there's 2 very different.
It's not
going to be that short.
I thought I caught them in a flub from the time period. In the beginning of the episode, we see the geeks at a sleepover. They're gonna stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
And Bill falls asleep. They throw some Monopoly money and cheese curls on him, whatever. The clip they played was Joe Piscopo, and I would have bet money that Joe Piscopo came on SNL in 1981. So I looked it up. The skit that they were watching premiered in December of 1980. Piscopo was on the 80-81 season, which is exactly, this takes place in the 80-81 school year. So they got it again.
You doubt it, man.
They got it right again.
I looked at the calendar. They try to match it up.
They do so well. They do so well. And it was a recurring sketch, so it could have, I don't know what time period this takes place. It probably takes place after Christmas. I feel like we're over the halfway mark of the school year.
Yeah, I thought so. I think actually...
So, do we have a Christmas episode? Well, they did Halloween so early. It's so long after Halloween. This has got to take place in like February, probably.
Yeah, no, because I remember they were talking about
March.
Elephant Man earlier, which was in January. They're trying to match it up week to week.
Yeah, they're trying to match it up. So this was a recurring sketch that premiered in December of 80, but it could have easily run in the spring of 81.
Also...
So, there you go.
I really liked...
So they got it again.
The one I liked when Neil was kind of flirting with Lindsay. It was like, want to go see Ordinary People.
Oh, yeah.
So Sophisticated, which is...
Did you look it up?
Well, I know it came out in 1980.
All right, you're right.
Because I like Ordinary People. That's a really good movie.
You do like that.
So I'm just like, I thought that was a cool little moment. So I was like, once again, they're doing the
Makes
time.
Sense.
They got the references down to like the month sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Or their touch of detail. So
all right. So I
you
think
thought it was wrong, but they were right.
I thought I caught them.
You shouldn't doubt them on that. They have been so fine tuned with the time.
Like
you wanted them to mess up.
I'm such an SNL fan. I thought I was better than that, but I failed.
Well, it's not your favorite era.
No, that's not my favorite era, I guess. But still, all right. So let's talk about
I guess the meat and potatoes.
The meat and potatoes is I think for sure the Geeks.
Yeah, that's the drama. That's the heavy part.
So maybe we talk about the light first.
Yes, let's talk about the light because
Freakos.
Because I wanted to ask you, and you confirmed it. Like I'm like, as I'm watching, is this a Seth Rogen episode? I think this is Seth. Oh, okay, yeah, it's definitely the Seth Rogen episode.
What a Seth Rogen
it's like,
episode!
Finally, like he gets like a character arc. Ken. I'll call him Ken now because he's actually a person now.
Yep, now he's got a real character.
He's actually Ken now.
More than just throwing off a couple of lines. And Franco Daniel is so excited. Well, just let's talk about what happens.
Well,
but he's excited about what Ken is feeling.
Ken, the whole thing about Ken, It's very much centered around him, which I do like.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's reactions to the situation, because Ken, the walls of his cynicism and tough exterior break down.
Yep.
As he actually cares about something, he has a crush on a girl. And actually,
Which
for the first
starts
time,
out,
apparently.
Yeah, okay, so that's what I was going to say. Daniel is so excited because apparently it's the first time he's liked anybody.
He's going to ever have a girlfriend.
That he's talked
about
it.
So this
big deal.
And this is really kind of an interesting thing that you think the writers must have been thinking about this, because all the characters are so surprised and happy, like, wow, this guy, always, just has these little sharp remarks, and that's it.
Well, and he has them to this girl.
Doesn't take anything. Oh, and he tries to, and she, like, gives it back to him. And he's like, huh?
Well, I think that's what does it.
Nobody's like, nope, she's not putting up with any of my sass.
Don't you think that's what does it?
Oh, yeah, and he's like, wow, I kind of like her.
She, and I don't know, I forget which lines they end up using in the episode, because there's, as you would assume with Apatow, there's outtakes, and so the two of them go back and forth several different times over, and I don't know what makes it in, but yeah, like, she's really throwing them right back at him.
Sideburns one was good, though, and it's that great...
Yep, that was good, and they talked about the food. I remember the food baby portion from Kim Kelly.
You like Tuba Girl. Oh, man, it's like blowing into a toy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's better than you're singing. Oh, like, there's some great exchanges, so that's kind of cool, and basically... He talks to, well, first he talks to Daniel, like, would you like me to talk to Lindsay, to talk to her, because they're friends, because she's like a band in that circle. And Ken's like, yeah, and...
Yeah, the nice thing about Lindsay is she's kind of still a floater. Like, because she just recently did the math leads, she still kind of goes in and out.
And I noticed at the beginning of the episode, when they're making fun of the band, like, she's the only one that's not really laughing, like, like, I know these people, they're my friends.
Right.
Which is why it clearly pays off for Ken later in the episode. With that connection, and I thought it was so sweet for Lindsay, because
very sweet,
and I love that she and Ken actually had a moment, where she's like, oh, you actually really like her, like she didn't believe it up to this point, like, what? And then I love how she goes over to the girl. What's her name? Do we know her name?
I don't
Tuba
know
Girl.
her name.
She goes over to Tuba Girl, and she's like, oh, well, he'd like to go out with you. Oh, really? He's kind of cute. Like, don't you just think he's dreaming, want to touch the sideburns? Like, yeah, sure I do. Like, what? Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, it just blows her mind how well this is working, right?
Yeah, the feeling is completely mutual.
It's which is cool. The chemistry
is surprising.
And it's almost like it's working out so well that nobody can believe it.
What did you think, though, about Lindsay's dynamic with Ken? Because so far we've seen
very little direct.
A lot of like a few barbs thrown her way.
Well, even like at the beginning, he was like, "Oh yeah, thanks for like breaking up our band so you can make out with Nick." Like
that's right.
There's still like this animosity
in this episode. There's still a little tension between her breaking up
she's
the band.
Like, that's not true. Like she's. Right. It's almost like here's what. Okay, I'll tell you this much. Here's the interesting dynamic with Ken and Lindsay that's important about this episode.
Okay.
In the social structure. Ken is the guy that is kind of hanging out, wanting to be in the conversation, like when they're talking about girls or not. And there's that subtle thing, I'm just picking up on it now, where he hasn't had any experience, so they weren't talking about how to, play it off with like, oh, don't be hard to get with Lindsay to get her back, Nick, and we'll talk about that. But I didn't realize that Ken's in the background trying to kind of be in the conversation, but can't really contribute because he's actually he's trying to kind of figure out, like, are they onto something? That's interesting. But the dynamic with him and Lindsay, this is...
Thinking about it in the moment.
It's layers. Oh, man.
It's always layers.
Subtle acting.
Always with the layers.
With Seth Rogen.
Yes.
Everybody's great. But with that the chipping away of the social structure. Lindsay, at this point, has had her moments with Busy Phillips.
Right.
Okay. Kim Kelly's her friend, as we established. Daniel, she's kind of broken through. She's been accepted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, of course, obviously, Nick is still in love with her. Ken, she hasn't had this connection with. He's never really fully accepted her into the group.
Right.
Never really seen eye to eye with her, but needs her, becomes open and vulnerable, shares a piece of his insecurities.
Well, I think a lot of it is, other than the breaking up the band, I don't think he really cares either way.
He's indifferent.
Like, that pissed him off.
That's his whole thing.
But other than that, he's just like,
his
whatever.
His whole thing up to this point is, I don't care about whatever. I'm not invested in anything. I'm just going to jab at my friends, jab at everybody. The fact that he cares about something this much is just so refreshing for everybody that he's a person.
Really refreshing to Daniel, who's known him. I get the sense
he's so happy. He's like, I'm so happy. You have a girlfriend. Like, this is great. And I do love that giving of his advice. Of course, Daniel's the player and is trying to kind of to hook up, but Ken actually just kind of does what he feels is best, and he kind of plays with it and just is honest with her when they're going to the light show.
Right.
He's like, I just want to kiss you, and she's like, okay. And so, I really like it.
And who does he get the advice from about that?
Daniel.
Is that Daniel?
He goes, oh, just stare at her, and there'll be nothing to do. And I'm like, and I was thinking that.
No, but he asks somebody. Is it Daniel that he asks? Should I ask her if I should?
Yeah,
if I can kiss her?
Yeah, he says ask, and Daniel says no, don't do that.
Okay,
He just says just stare at her. He does stare at her, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Oh, well, I just want to kiss. And so his going with
his
him
instinct
worked
was
better.
right.
So he trusted himself, and Daniel's advice didn't work.
Well, because the girls that are attracted to Daniel are not this girl.
They're not really.
Tuba Girl is not the type of person that would go out with Daniel.
No, she's smarter and she's sophisticated and she's not easy. No,
right.
So and I like the fact that she's
Busy Phillips very easy.
And
as Kim Kelly, she is.
She a little bit, and it's a more of a, I guess maybe a physical thing.
Yeah,
there's more of that passion, but it's interesting. Ken is looking for something a little more from his first relationship.
Yes,
and he might not want to admit it because he doesn't want to be intellectual or whatever. But that there's something in there, and I really like that. There's just this whole episode is just kind of unfeeling that this background guy. There is a lot going into him that we see that is layered.
Yes,
and I like that we get to see the unpeeling of his vulnerability, and it's
the
dynamic.
I think the theme of this entire episode, and we'll talk about it even more with the geeks, is
it's relationships.
What is it to be in a satisfying relationship?
What is it to be in love? Why do people fall out? How do the dynamic? How does it work? And
we see that a little bit even with Lindsay and Nick. Because they have a slight moment towards the end of the Laserdome, which, by the way, we should sidetrack.
All right, there's a third plot with still continuing Nick and Lindsay.
Laserdome.
Oh, the Laserdome. The Laserdome made me so happy.
Okay, the first time I watched this episode, I thought to myself, boy, they've had such great music. They've done the Van Halen stuff. They've done Supertramp. They've had some big name acts, and then I thought, man, are they really going to pay for?
Floyd.
Are they really going to pay for
the
Pink
wall,
Floyd?
man? Pink Floyd.
Because the only laser show I've ever seen, it was in Boy Scouts. We were taking a trip to, it was either New York or DC, and one of the things we did was we watched a laser show of Dark Side of the Moon.
Nice.
And it was before I was into like pop music. I was into George Michael, Madonna. I knew of Pink Floyd. And I knew a couple of their songs. I knew Another Brick in the Wall, which isn't on Dark Side of the Moon.
No.
So I think I don't even think I knew Comfortably Numb at the time. So this was all new to me. And we did Laser Floyd. And it was like mind-blowing.
I'll bet.
So when I first saw this episode, and I was like, oh my God, they're gonna pay for the rights to Pink Floyd music? Or maybe they just won't show that part of the show. And they show it.
It's an accident.
And it's an accident because Nick gets the wrong week.
Pink Floyd
is next week. This is
Southern Rock Night.
Southern Country and Western Night. And so the very first song, you loved it.
Well,
Devil Goes Down to Georgia.
Not my favorite version, though.
No?
No.
What's your favorite version?
Primus.
Oh, that makes sense.
The Primus is pretty great.
All right, that makes sense. Charlie Daniels that's to me the all-time classic.
Yeah.
But then they also go into Freebird a little bit later for the real Southern rock stuff.
I'm like, oh, that's and I was thinking he's all like
Nick hated it though.
But I'm like, but that's about as proggy as country gets, man. That's like one of the most complex.
Yeah,
I
really feel like that was a little bit interesting.
That's interesting because that's his viewpoints of music. Like, because thing about this is like 70s and 80s. Prog is still very much like Yes and Genesis. It's
Yes, Rush.
It's like it's this rock. And like thinking of it as like country and so they can't do weird, progressive, complicated structures too.
But I feel like Lynyrd Skynyrd was a rock band that just did country stuff.
Well, yeah, I've always thought of them as more just hard rock.
I call them Southern rock.
Southern rock.
There's like Three Doors Down is Southern rock. 38 Special is Southern rock.
Funny you say that because, I think the definition is 3 Days Grace. Not 3 Days Grace. 3 Doors Down. I never would have thought of as
No, but 40 years after Lynyrd Skynyrd, that's kind of what Southern rock has evolved into.
Oh, so barely Southern anymore.
Yeah, there's not fiddles in it. But but rock that appeals to
that bass.
That bass.
And I
guess not quite middle America rock like John Mellencamp, and not quite working man rock like Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
It falls into that category.
And I guess maybe his view of that would just be kind of very specific because he's such a big fan of Zeppelin.
He's such a fan of Zeppelin and more prog stuff, like you said. But I do think he could have thrown off a line like, well, at least it's not disco night or something like that.
Well, but this is the thing. He clearly is
okay
into it.
time.
He was enjoying it more than he wanted to let on, which is a music snob thing. Like,
right. That's true.
I think at his age, I would have done the same thing. Oh man.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I don't really like this, but I would have liked it.
Yeah.
I could relate to that.
And well, we know some movie snobs that might be the same way.
Exactly.
With movies.
Exactly.
So,
oh man, like that was so generic, but it was good.
Right.
Secretly admit that you like. Yeah. Exactly.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Freebird.
I like Freebird.
I prefer Sweet Home Alabama. But Freebird's fine.
Yeah, but
staple.
That's a good song.
You know.
It's a great song. Fine,
Right.
Sure. It was a good. It worked for the scene.
But that joke was great.
Joke was
When
great.
it came out with the boot, the cowboy boot, like the deck of cards comes out, and you're like,
I was confused. What? I'm like, is this going to be Pink Floyd? Okay, because I lost the connection. This light show is Floyd. Oh yeah,
very exciting. Right.
It was.
So they had a little moment as well, him and Lindsay.
But the whole advice with Daniel of like, and Kim, play hard to get, be a jerk to them,
right?
That'll work, and like it doesn't work at all. It's like it's terrible. And I do like that there is kind of, like you said, that sort of
he was
coming
trying
at the
so
end.
hard.
He was trying. They were both trying.
Trying to get her a soda. Offers her like 3 different types of drinks, and she's like, "I'm not thirsty.
I'm not
thirsty.
thirsty.
Good, thank you.
I'll get a hot dog." But then she gets the hot dog for Ken.
Yeah, very nice. And then they kiss.
Yeah, and that was good. And I really liked that.
Seth Rogen's first kissing scene.
Probably.
And he hated it, apparently.
Seriously?
Just because it was awkward and
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, kissing on camera, I mean.
Everybody looking at you. Make it look good. Yeah, you'd have to really be in the zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But hey, he's gotten better at it.
He's gotten better at it. We've seen him in many other movies.
Charlize.
Yeah, I was going to say Charlize recently. And, all right, so that's the Freaks. Anything else about the Freaks?
Yeah, just the fact that I guess with Lindsay and Nick that
they have a little moment at the end
where they kind of were like confessing their feelings, like and Lindsay's like, of course, I thought you were still totally into
Lindsay
me.
basically apologizes to him for being so
jerk.
cold. Yeah,
like I just was trying to like still see if we could be friends. There's no way you could possibly be into me. And he's like, oh yeah, how could you be so conceited? And you see the pain as he turns away.
He's like,
so
she got me.
Man, he's still not over.
Well,
it's so
it's
sad.
not that long.
I know.
And it's in high school.
And it's like, I'm sort of like at this weird thing where I'm like, I don't know if I would want them to get together or I'd want him to just move on. Like, either way, I just want it to, like, go a direction at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm curious to see how it resolves by the end of the season, if at all.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good moment because it was sort of a meeting of the minds, but also still not fully resolved on one end. So,
very
which
true.
is very realistic, and we've been down that road. So it's the real meat and potatoes of this episode. The geeks.
Groundwork was laid several episodes ago, where they were home during the day.
Yeah.
And the dad, played by the great Sam McMurray. We've seen him in Friends, King of Queens. I go back with him to the Tracy Ullman show back in the 80s. Great character actor. And fun dad, but we see maybe why that he may be compensating with his son
guilt
for
perhaps.
some guilt.
Yeah, big time. By the way, I also didn't point this out last time he showed up, but good casting with his hair. It's very clear they're trying to get a kid that looks kind of like him with Neil around the cast that you could believe it's his son. And I
I believe it.
I like the little bit that Neil clearly loves his dad, thinks he's the best, and even picks up on the Shatner love because he does the bit later when Sam finds him in the store.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, so that's where Neil gets that.
And the wife, I don't think we'll talk too much about the wife, but she's played by one of my favorites on Everybody Loves Raymond, who is the cookie lady, who Ray gets in several fights with in a few different episodes, because she's the Girl Scout troop leader.
I like it.
So I always like when she pops up. I don't know her name. I've never known her name. But she's always funny on Raymond. And this would have been probably before she would have been on Raymond. So, there you go. But yes, I liked seeing her. She doesn't have a whole lot to do here. The story isn't about her.
It's about her getting cheated on.
It's about her getting cheated on. But she does show up a couple times.
A couple scenes in the episode, and
and she seems perfectly nice.
She's nice. The wife seems nice, and that's kind of why it opens up the question, like, why would Dad cheat?
Right.
But anyway, basically, it establishes that Sam with his parents wants an Atari.
Yep.
And he went with his mom.
Classic.
Because she was looking for a microwave grade salesman, saying, "Oh, you could save some time cooking."
Yes.
As if microwave. All right, I want to ask you that.
Yeah.
The 50s was the big microwave boom. Why?
No.
What?
Not at all.
Really?
We saw this in American Hustle. Remember when Jennifer Lawrence puts the foil in the microwave and it lights on fire? That takes place in like the late 70s.
Right. What was the thing in the 50s then? Was it the fridge? What was the big thing in the 50s? Because they had microwaves in the 50s, right?
No.
Didn't they?
No.
Didn't they?
No. Microwaves were, I mean, they might have existed for very rich people or very, enormous microwaves, but no, for a quick heating stove, microwave oven, whatever. No. 70s.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
They did not get in the making. We didn't get one until, 83, 84.
For some reason,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what it is about
I don't know.
the big innovation with the
Deep
50s.
freezer, maybe?
Maybe I'm the fridges and the freezers.
I'm trying to think of like what Leave It to Beaver had that maybe would be a revelation.
like the coffee make. All right, okay.
I don't know.
It does make sense now that I think about it because classic twins. DeVito's like showing Arnold the microwave, and he's like, "Oh, this is amazing." So okay,
There you
maybe
go.
that
It all
isn't-
goes back to twins.
Maybe it is an 80s staple, but anyway.
Yeah, late
great-
70s, early 80s was when microwave
were big.
was really getting mainstream. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I thought it was earlier.
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, there's that great scene, and Sam stumbles on Neil's dad.
Yep.
Hugging some lady, and even as a kid, he kind of suspects this just seems off. What's going on here? He said he wasn't here. He was working. He's not. He lied.
Right.
With the woman. He puts two and two together.
And Sam's dad plays it off, I think, pretty well.
Yeah.
He saw them hugging.
Oh yeah, we're old friends.
But they said, "Oh, a friend from high school." Da, da, da. And then he even says at the end to her in front of Sam,
I'll see you sometime.
Yeah, you'll have to come over and have dinner with me and my wife.
Oh
sometime.
yeah. They played off pretty well, but Sam.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Do you think? What do you think Bill would have thought of that? Because Sam obviously had doubts. Sam had a lot of doubts about what he saw.
Sam doesn't believe him.
But would Bill take it at face value or no? Because I feel like Bill is a little more naive. Because he doesn't, he doesn't have an older sibling like Sam does.
It's really tough with Bill, because Bill
could go either way.
You're right. Bill's kind of naive. He might take it at face value, but he also has a lot of wisdom. People underestimate Bill.
That's true. People do come to him for advice a lot.
Because he knows what's up. Like when you really break it down, he's a guy of truth.
All right, so you think he would know?
I don't think it would click for him as quickly as it did Sam, but
Okay.
he'd think about it and then be saying, like.
Okay, I could see that.
It wouldn't be as dramatic. Like he wouldn't. It wouldn't think of it, but it would hit him eventually.
Sense.
I think that's how it would go down.
Okay.
Bill's not an idiot. He seems like he is.
No, and I didn't mean to imply he was.
But that's how we were sold.
But with relationships,
like
sometimes he's a little bit naive.
He's likes Dallas with his mom.
I love that they keep bringing up Dallas. Yes, Dallas was a huge show.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But no,
right.
that I think it would have been slower. Sam clearly is like, this doesn't seem right.
Right away, he was like, "This doesn't make any
laying
sense."
on a bit thick. No, this is, and I think it's really, man, it
and
goes.
he tried the Shatner impression.
The Shatner impression was kind of heartbreaking, actually, because you're like, wow, like he emulates his dad so much that this is where he gets it from. Whew. And it goes into some tough places. I mean, because
great Atari background
sales. I like the Atari references.
The rack they had of the Atari games. They said those were very, very hard to track down.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
And the Asteroids game night was cool. I liked the dad's reference about how, oh man, what's an Atari or what? Well, it's an expensive video game. All the welfare people are going to be playing that.
Oh yeah, Sam's dad, yeah.
And Lindsay's like, that's not true. And I'm like, well, down the line.
Actually, down the line,
time
people
playing video games.
Tend to do that sometimes, yeah.
That's not completely, a little prophetic perhaps.
Yeah.
But that was a good bit. But basically, Sam wants to talk to somebody about this. The three had a bond day, which share everything together. There's no secrets in their trio. Goes to Bill about it, like, look, can he keep a secret? I'm like, well, this is not going
And this
south
is he goes to
immediately.
Bill. He goes to Bill first before Lindsay, right?
Yeah, because he
does have that scene with Lindsay.
Yeah, because they're closer. He wants to be a little
right,
but he does. I like how Lindsay's like, nah, I wouldn't picture that. I never thought about the dad having an affair. Our dad would never have an affair. Ha ha. Him in the underwear, like,
and then he comes in.
They
right.
couldn't believe it. Like that would never happen. Our dad's so great.
Do your homework.
What's so funny?
Was that your favorite line?
That was great.
I knew it would be.
That was a great part. But yeah, so he does.
But he comes to Bill first.
I love that he goes to Bill first. I knew immediately. Well, this is a bad idea because not because Bill's bad, but keeping a secret, and of course, like can't keep it a secret from before.
You know who he actually should have gone to? The Gordon.
Oh, maybe he wasn't around.
I think he actually should have gone to Gordon because Gordon isn't friends enough with Neil that he would tell
obligated to the secret thing.
Right.
Either. Like he would stay away from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gordon would probably be real direct about what's up.
Very direct. Yeah.
But when they're playing Asteroids, Sam walks away. Bill kind of like lets on, like, this is the thing. And then Sam walks in, comes out. Neil doesn't want to accept it.
Right.
Thinks it's a lie. Doesn't want to accept it at first. And
does his digging.
Does his digging, finds the garage door opener, hence the title of the episode. And they start going for a search to find out who this is.
And I love that they never... I mean, he explains it later on in the episode to the other guys. But in that scene, I just love that they have him pick up 2 remotes in the car and try and work on, like he doesn't say anything, he's not talking to himself about but it's so clear to us, and I thought that was very well done. And it's a very well directed scene.
It's also
or written too, I guess.
I like how you can tell this episode's being a little more serious, certainly with this plot, because with the title, The Garage Door, there's almost this ominous, mysterious, what door is it? It's all centered around this door.
Yeah.
The strife for the family.
They could have called it The Garage Opener, they just called it The Garage Door, so you're like, what's behind the door? It's
not Looks and Books this time.
Yeah.
It's not quite as fun.
Yeah.
It's The Garage Door. What is it?
Yeah.
Could be like a dark indie film, whatever. For this, it is. It was pretty. It gets intense because it gets so sad because Neil goes on this quest and it's going lanes and trying to click around and eventually, of course, finds it.
Yeah, he basically brings the guys on their bikes and they just go all around the town.
Hours.
Clicking at every house
and they
to
say
see if it opens.
We have to go home.
Yeah. Which, by the way, another great sort of set design moment is that because they
only so much street.
Well, they can't have any current cars in the shot, so they can't film on real streets. So they only have a street and a half in a back lot that they had to create 3 hours worth of. We went all around town.
Lovely.
Looking for that. So, and then the other thing they said was hard to shoot about this episode was when they're riding their bikes. Not only, of course, they had the crane camera, on the dolly in front of them, but something I didn't think about ever watching this was how hard it is to ride a bike that slowly and still keep it, still have it
in
look
motion.
Very hard.
Yeah, especially to film, and that's some trickery and some cover photography.
They said that was the hardest scene of this episode to shoot.
It's funny, the hardest shots sometimes are little things like that.
Well, it made me think of how last time when they were on the football field,
they
had to park those big buses in the school parking lot so you wouldn't see the current cars passing by on the highway behind it. Stuff that I don't know. Other shows don't go into
that detail,
that much
level of
work.
care.
Yeah.
Well, that's the difference between this and a lot of other shows.
Well, you're right about that.
Attention to detail.
You're right about that.
So
he's going and clicking, and
he finds it, and there's
long before he finds it though, he tries to guilt
them into
the other kids into staying, and personally, okay. I don't know how this is going to come across. I can understand that he is very, very upset, very distraught. He just found out that maybe his dad's cheating on him. But Sam says to him, look, we will come out for hours and help you more tomorrow. But, we
got to call it a night.
We got to call it a night. I'm going to be in so much trouble that I won't be able to help you. Tomorrow if you don't let me go home.
Logical.
And Neil, I get it, but he's pissed.
Well, look, but
I didn't think that was fair.
I do.
Yeah?
Well, it wasn't fair. It wasn't the right thing to do. But Neil is in such an emotional state right now that I totally get he doesn't want to be reasonable with Sam about that.
Okay, but he knows Sam's parents.
Yeah.
If Sam comes home, I mean, it's already dark at this point. It's been dark. If Sam comes home much later,
No.
he should know that, like, they're not going to be able to.
No, I get it. I think Sam's right. I think it's reasonable.
Okay.
I'm just saying the fact that Neil doesn't care makes perfect sense to me. That he's obsessed with it, I get it.
He's obsessed. I get it.
But I know I know you don't like that.
And I
You're
did
upset.
like the line. I did like his line about, well, your parents aren't getting divorced, so maybe you
Doesn't
don't
really
mind
matter to
going home. Yeah, like, but I don't want to go home, and that made sense to me.
Yeah.
But look, they weren't saying you can't continue on by yourself. But
in the moment, he doesn't really care.
I know,
Like his friends are abandoning him.
It just
in the
made me
moment.
feel bad.
To be honest,
Little
if
Sam.
you feel bad for Neil more right now than Sam.
Well, I felt bad. Of course, I
Jeez.
feel bad for Neil. Of course, I feel bad.
But
for
no,
Neil.
here's the thing.
But
I get what you're saying.
They're
Neil,
trying to be good friends.
Neil's
and I
trying
think
to
he's being
do
a
it.
little unfair.
You're right. Neil's trying to. I mean, wow.
Taking
Sam's
out
trying to
his
be a good
anger.
friend, and he's taking his unfairly. Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's very.
But
well
people
written,
do that,
well
yes.
written,
People, of course,
realistic,
do that.
And because this is a better written
God knows
show,
we've all done that.
Sam going home and Bill going home is better writing because they said, you know what, we have to
Right.
go home because we won't be in trouble. We can't help you.
Now,
if
this
this
were
were,
Spielberg,
we're gonna go.
gonna
I was
go
thinking
all
if
night
this
with
were
it.
Super 8, we're gonna go off
Yeah,
into the
we're gonna
like.
go all
See,
night
and this
with
is
it.
not Super 8. This is
No,
not ET.
it's real.
This is
real life.
So
You're right.
so it's good, but I understand you, and that's why it's great for Sam. Sam wants
Yes.
to do the great thing, but he's torn.
Did you think he was going to find it? The house?
Oh, Neil! I thought they were going to end on he's searching and doesn't find it. I thought it was going to be dark.
Oh!
I thought it was going to. I thought, and they almost
No,
did.
they
but
almost did.
And it was almost as bad. He finds it, confirmed, and just throws the thing,
Yeah.
the clicker at his dad's
At the
car
dad-
and in the
dad's
garage.
car.
That heartbreaking scene, which leads into the
That
other
really
heartbreaking
was
scene
heartbreaking.
with Sam, where he goes home. His dad bought him the Atari, like, and he's crying because he's like, oh, my dad would never do that to mom, or I hope he never does.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
There's always been some debate about that scene.
that's what I was thinking, because my
Yeah.
first thought was, oh, my dad is great, loves my mom, he is genuine, but the first thing is, which was shocking to me when I thought about it as well, is he sees the Atari. Neil's dad bought him something because
Right.
something was up compensating.
In Atari specifically.
So is my dad hiding something now too? Is he cheating? Is my dad that kind of guy? My parents not in love, which is also we kind of glossed over that little conversation they had before about why would somebody cheat?
Yeah, with him and Lindsay,
Like
yeah.
how could somebody get two women? It's hard enough to get one. Can't picture one.
Oh, right, yeah,
Whatever.
with each other.
I
yeah.
dream of Jeannie. About finding one in a bottle would be nice.
Talking about never cheating.
Like
and
no, I never do that. Or dad's
yeah.
like just not understanding how something like could happen, and also got to ask you about this scene.
Okay.
We got to talk about the scene where Sam goes to the dental appointment.
Oh,
And
yes.
he's in
Okay,
the
we'll
chair.
talk about that.
Because
Okay.
that is
We'll talk about that. Okay,
that
so-
was a scene.
Okay, well, first of all...
Became a horror movie for a second.
It's a horror movie for a second.
Don't.
First of all,
You say anything, kid?
the Atari at the end.
Classic.
I always thought that, and this was more or less confirmed on the commentary,
Okay.
but the actor that plays Neil, Sam Levine, said like that it's very open to interpretation, and the writers have never stated what intention they had with it. But
What do you think?
I always felt that because you can see in his face, it's not a fear. It's not a cry of fear.
No, he's like overwhelmed by.
It's a cry
love
of, first of all,
for his father.
first of all, he had a very long day.
He's had a long
They've been
day.
riding their bikes for hours.
And he got threatened by the dentist.
And he got threatened by the dentist, and Neil's pissed at him.
He's one of
So
his
I mean,
friends
so
pissed.
all that, and he comes home to
He's loving.
thinking that his parents are going to yell at him for being late because that happened earlier in the episode, and he sees the Atari, and oh, you're such a sweet kid, Sam. You deserve this.
Oh.
I think he just crumbles at the notion of, oh my God, my family is so cohesive. My family is so together, so loving. Because Neil at one point compares their families.
My
to
dad's
each
cool.
other,
Your dad's not. You're
Right.
just jealous. You don't want to admit it.
And I think for Sam, that whole moment of "you got me the Atari" is this big outpouring of emotions.
This is genuine.
And yeah, so I have more along the same lines of you that it was more out of love and like, oh my God, not out of the fear of, oh my God. And it could have been played they could have directed it a lot differently.
Yeah.
To, I think, make it even more ambiguous if they wanted to, or to point us in the other direction.
I definitely think through the acting and the way it was shot, I think that he definitely has that moment where he has maybe that second.
Well, I don't think it would have been even that second. I think maybe later that night he would have thought for a second, like, oh, Atari, what's the connection? Maybe there is none. Maybe, you know. And I think he would kind of get it out of his mind.
Well, when I saw him crying, I mean, I think it definitely was joy, but I also kind of felt that he was still kind of reeling from the day and the possibility that I don't want to lose my dad and think of my dad that way because he sees him. So I think there was some of that there too.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of emotions there, but I think
it's a great acting scene.
Great acting. I think the overwhelming feeling is joy about Dad being great. Yeah. Also, though, before we get to the dentist scene, Neil's dad, though, was never going to buy him that Atari. I mean, he's the cool dad, but if you notice, when he is spotted by Sam at the store, they're at the counter buying a color TV for this babe. So I think he just.
It's a cover story.
It's I mean, it's maybe he would have bought it for him because he is a cool dad, but like.
But he wouldn't have bought it for them.
I think that was all. I think he was forced basically into buying it because he needed a cover.
Oh, he was literally making up on the fly. Oh, I'm here buying him an Atari. Don't tell him. That's the secret. Don't tell him I was here. That was clear.
Okay. All right.
I thought that was pretty clear.
All right.
To be honest.
All right. I wasn't sure. So goes to the dentist because Neil's dad is a dentist.
Yeah.
And so he calls the day after he sees him at the store. They're all playing the Atari. So everybody goes home. That night, he calls Sam's mom and says, "Hey, we got an opening at the dentist tomorrow. You should have Sam come in for his checkup." Da 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 da. And so Sam goes in, and what happens?
Oh, just a nice, pleasant conversation.
Okay, no.
I mean, it's about as nice. I mean, it certainly could have been much more threatening.
They give him the old cheek spreader.
But basically, he's just performing a very light exam, but has poor Sam in this very compromising position.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot of people, if you have a fear of dentists, this is probably terrible for you.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. Here's an adult figure. You're feeling awkward, kind of threatened. Your friend's dad, who's also a dentist, you know, he's got you down with these instruments in your mouth saying, oh, like, you understand.
This is our secret.
You know, as a you know, an adult, like, you know, sometimes you get bored with your wife.
Yeah, but what's interesting?
Don't you understand?
What's interesting about that whole scene
He's coming to him for advice almost, like confessing to him.
But first he says nothing is going on.
And then he slowly...
And then 2 sentences later he says, you know, sometimes people get bored in a marriage, you know, da-da-da-da-da, or maybe he doesn't even say
you understand
marriage,
that, right? Like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, he's like, not really.
I'm trying to, like, this is...
Well, because it's never happened to him.
Yeah, he doesn't get it. He
doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it. Yeah,
it's like 13, 14 years old. His parents are still together. I mean, like, you know...
He doesn't really understand
He doesn't really understand that. Now, my parents are still together.
Yes.
But I remember... the first friend I made who had divorced parents, I really did think that was like
strange concept.
Yeah, it was kind of a big deal because I was just like the idea in my mind. I mean, I knew what divorce was. I watched TV. You know, I mean, for God's sake, the Brady Bunch. You know, way back in the day. But
they got divorced.
The Carol's divorce, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Mike's wife. No.
Oh, because they came from different.
Mike's wife died, but yeah, Carol got divorced.
Oh.
So not talked about really, but
according
to the legend. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I watched enough TV to know what divorce was and everything, but I didn't know anybody, and so the idea to me of like, oh my God, that means this person has to go to this house 4 days a week and this house 3 days a week and have stuff in both houses, and it was just I couldn't,
if that happens
if that happens. I mean, that was the case for my friend.
Look,
but
you know what, to be honest, there was a little bit of a commentary there when people were doing the snapshots about dads. I mean, we learned a bit more about Bill he talks to his dad like once every couple
That's
months.
right. We never really heard anything until this episode about Bill's dad.
He is actually from a divorce.
He is from a divorce, and he only talks to his dad every few months or whatever, and we didn't know that until this episode. But yeah, obviously, I think it's less common to have your parents be together now.
I guess more than even back when this was happening. Divorce.
Yeah, much more now than in the '80s. But I mean, even in the era this show aired, 2000, I think the divorce rate was still over 50%, though.
Yeah,
I mean, so it certainly happened. But yeah, when I was a kid, the '80s, it was not nearly as prominent. I think the sort of late '80s, '90s is when it became a little bit more
sounds about right.
Common. Women getting out of terrible marriages sometimes, being the factor. But so that was a mind blower. But yeah, so that Dennis scene, classic. That was something that harkened back actually to Judd Apatow's stand-up. He would go on stage with one of those mouth spreader things, and that was the bit, like that was the act.
Wow.
And so he would tell stories with that in his mouth and get laughs because nobody could understand what he was talking about, I guess. But Apatow's never claimed to be a good stand-up comedian. But he said that always got good laughs, so he figured to add a little levity into this scene. He would have the spreader in there. Also, guess who the real-life garage door story happened to?
Apatow?
Good old Feig again.
Oh, Feig, okay.
And right down to he actually found a garage door opener and went all over town clicking it.
Well, that's tragic.
So another pulled from life.
Real life, yeah.
But look, it also means he knew how Neil would feel.
Well, yes. So writing what you know and being genuine goes a long way.
Always helps. All right. So how do we feel about that plot? What a plot!
I guess I enjoyed the plots. Right. Enjoyed, is that the word?
So originally,
it was sad.
As the outlines, were going, this was going to lead to Neil's parents divorcing.
Okay.
And go through that arc in season 2.
Okay.
But obviously never came to be. So that's about the end of it.
Wow. Well, that's.
I think it does come up though more. I mean, I shouldn't say that's the end of it. I do believe it's mentioned, but yeah, I don't think they ever go so far in the actual show as to say we're gonna get divorced.
Gotcha.
Because they knew by that point they weren't gonna get second season, so why pull at a new thread?
It's definitely one of the darker storylines on the show.
Very dark.
I mean, even like as bad as Kim Kelly's was, that was like
Kim Kelly's were rough.
It was rough, but it was different. It was less somber, I guess.
Okay. Well, because she had already been raised in that house.
It wasn't a shock to her.
Yeah. That's the life she knew.
Yeah.
But Neil, this is brand new, and like you mentioned, his dad is the cool dad.
Mm-hmm.
He is, Bill doesn't have a dad, or does, but isn't
not
around.
Right there around. Yeah.
And Sam's dad is an old fuddy-duddy or unhip or whatever.
Not cool.
And here's Sam McMurray coming in as Neil's dad doing the Shatner bits, letting him stay up late watching SNL and eating junk food and playing Atari. It's like he's the cool dad. And so that must be...
But then the facade.
Very devastating, and then the facade falls. So, all right, what else can we talk about before we do grades? That's all I got.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything. There was nothing really other than what I've talked about that was that earth-shattering in the commentary tracks.
I think that...
Here's what I think about this episode, though.
Oh, okay.
If we're going to lead into...
grades and stuff?
The overall feeling. This, to me, and you're going to hate it...
Oh, no.
I think this is on the lower end of the scale that we've had so far for this show.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay. You don't like Seth Rogen, the truth comes out.
No, that part was fine.
Okay.
Everything was fine. Look, it's still Freaks and Geeks. Everything is still above
average for sure.
Every average metric there is.
Sure.
But I think for once, they took two very sort of simplistic plots, like they often do. But I'm just not sure that they went
groundbreaking,
so far above and beyond what we normally see on television. Certainly with the Ken storyline, that seemed pretty standard.
Yeah.
I like what they did with it because I like these characters.
That's fun.
I like some of the lines. I loved the reveal about the country and western night.
That was good.
That was great. Very funny. You know, and look, have we seen, you know, kids going up and down the street clicking the garage door opener before? No, that was, you know, I think, but yes, it was new, but I don't think it was as groundbreaking as a lot of the other basic plot lines we've seen before. This was a story about a kid finding out his dad is cheating on his mom. We've seen that before.
Sure.
You know, he's recruiting his friends to do a little digging. We've seen that before. How it was executed is still great.
Still well done.
It's still Freaks and Geeks, but to me,
the writing is like not quite.
I think this may be grade wise my lowest yet. I don't know. Trying to think.
Well, I guess the thing about it that's sort of, I mean, I think, like you said, I guess maybe it's not as groundbreaking, but I think that all the stuff they're doing is still very well done.
It is.
But I'll tell you one thing I really liked about it, though.
Okay.
That might elevate it, I guess, to that Freaks and Geeks level, is honestly the acting from Neil and from Sam. Like that last scene with Sam
was very good.
Probably some of the best acting he's done dramatically so far.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think
was good.
I will admit that I think the freak stuff is good, but it is maybe a tad less impressive than a lot of the stuff, even though it is Ken-centric, which is the best thing about it.
Yes.
But if we'd seen this with other characters, like, this
love
is
a good Ken.
That's the great thing, is that at least it was a good episode.
And I do like that he found somebody that can barb back.
I think his
like
acting's good.
His acting's fine.
Good. There's some good stuff there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do like the little Nick and Lindsay moment at the end. I mean, you know, everything's very good.
But this is all still standard Freaks and Geeks territory.
So if you want to, you know, we like to try and agree on a grade.
We try to make it official.
If you want to talk me up, you can. But this, I think, is a fair grade for this episode.
I'm ready.
It's a B+.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
But I think we can agree it's. I don't think we've had a B+ yet.
I think. Well,
we've started with some B's and B+, but then by the time we talk, they raise up to A- or what have you.
We talked about the layers with Ken, but it's all stuff that is pretty obvious, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why, I think, and so I didn't want you to get me wrong that I was thinking this was like a B-. This is nothing of the kind. It's still a great episode of television.
Yeah.
But for Freaks and Geeks,
there's not as much going on.
This one certainly is not as memorable. Yeah, like it's not as complex, and as a result, I don't necessarily remember it that much when I go back to especially the Freaks story. The Geek story I definitely remember because the garage door thing is pretty interesting.
There were some good laughs in this one, but maybe this one was not as consistently funny. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think this one is nearly as funny.
It's like charming, but there aren't as many like good.
No, and certainly with the Geeks, who are typically
more my favorite.
Of the group, and even Sam's parents weren't being that funny.
He had the scene where he was in his underwear, which is funny.
That was good, yeah.
The Atari line was funny.
The Atari thing was okay, yeah.
The mom didn't really have much to do in this one, actually.
No, not really. Good person, though.
Oh, well, yeah. no, of course. Duh.
There's no doubt about that.
I mean,
and she helped buy the Atari at the end.
Yes.
So that was fine.
Yeah. Of course, great.
Just saying, she was good.
No, I like them. We know this.
Yeah, but I think B+.
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Okay,
I was fine.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
All right,
it's not. I don't think it's quite A territory for me.
No, it's not. And like I said, I would have to go back and look, but I'm not sure if we've had yet a B+. I think every time we try,
you've tried.
we bump it up.
You've had a couple. There was that one or two where we're like, nah, and then we're like, and then I think that one I surprised myself I don't.
Yeah, the one you were coming in with like a B, and then it turned out you were
one of
like
my
an
favorite
A.
episodes.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
You really bumped that one up.
And you agree with me somehow.
I absolutely did.
Which one was that?
It was a few ago. I'm not sure.
That was good though. Whatever that was. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But
I think it might have been the.
We should remember. Tell us in the comments.
I know. They're all so good. Yeah, it wasn't Looks and Books.
Which one of the ones with the counts though, wasn't it?
But it was. Yeah, it might have been. It was the one where Bill snuck into the office to get the paper from him.
Yeah.
What was the freak subplot in that though? I don't remember.
Daniel trying to get the test?
Oh, with the test.
The test one?
Not where he cheats on the test though.
No, but the
where
one
he legitimately is trying. Yes, that was
a really good one.
That was the one because Lindsay basically was like the mathletes one.
Yeah,
Lindsay was basically like, you guys are all losers. Like, where are you going?
The one where it's like a backstory without a backstory. Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah,
we made that A+.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
yeah.
So All right. I was right. This is not with my 45-minute guess, but it's under an hour.
Yes.
I figured that would be the case. I think B+ is perfect for this episode.
I agree.
So next week will be the final episode that aired on television in the original run.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to sort of pick up maybe on things, on cliffhangers that fans might have been pissed at. Because even though it wasn't not highly rated for the time, like I said earlier, it was still 8 million people. So people were watching this show.
That's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
So
a lot of people.
Yes.
All right, so we'll be back next week with that. Thank you, Merlin, as always. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.